All right, folks, it's a beautiful day at the old ballpark. So put your mustard on that dog, grab that bag of peanuts, sip that cold one, and let's meet our tiger of the day.
Today's tiger video is Boss Schmidt. He is represented by a T206 Piedmont 350, portrait graded 1.5 by PSA. If you think baseball tough guys are a modern thing, let me take you back more than a century, when catching meant barehanded bravery, when stolen bases flew like confetti, and when the Detroit Tigers had a catcher so hard-nosed they literally called him Boss. This is the story of Charles Boss Schmidt, the backstop who helped guide Detroit through one of the most important stretches in early Tigers history. Today, we're diving into a name that doesn't get enough love in Tigers history, Boss Schmidt. He wasn't a superstar hitter. He wasn't the headline grabber the way Ty Cobb was. But if you look at what Detroit became in the late 1900s, an American League powerhouse, Schmidt is one of the gritty, essential pieces of that puzzle. Detroit's problem in the mid-1900s was simple. They needed better catching. In the dead ball era, your catcher wasn't just receiving pitches. He was basically the traffic cop, the bodyguard, and the field general. The Tigers scouted Schmidt and liked what they saw: arm strength, toughness, and the ability to handle a pitching staff. And in 1906, he arrived in Detroit and immediately became part of the plan. Here's where Schmidt's Detroit legacy really lives. The Tigers went on a run. 3 straight American League pennants, 1907, 1908, and 1909. That's not a typo. 3 in a row, and Boss Schmidt was catching right in the middle of it, helping steer a team that had big personalities and big pressure. Those Tigers teams made the World Series 3 straight times, and even though Detroit didn't win the championship in those trips, just getting there repeatedly in that era was a statement. Now, if you're wondering what Schmidt's role was, think defense, game calling, and durability. Catching back then was punishing, and the running game was aggressive. Schmidt was constantly dealing with runners taking off, bang-bang plays, collisions, and the grind of handling a staff night after night. Nicknames in early baseball usually had a reason, and Boss Schmidt carried a reputation. Rugged, intimidating, not afraid of anybody. A lot of the stories around him are pure deadball-era flavor, the kind of thing that tells you what the sport felt like back then. He became one of those figures you didn't want to mess with, especially when you're talking about the Tigers clubhouse during the early Ty Cobb years. Schmidt's playing career with Detroit ran through 1911, but what's really interesting is that his Detroit connection didn't completely disappear afterward. Years later, he had a stint as a Tigers coach in 1929, and his story ends with a powerful detail. After his death, his grave went unmarked for years, until the Tigers eventually stepped in and funded a headstone recognizing him as a Detroit Tiger from 1906 to 1911. That's a small moment, but it says a lot. The organization still remembered what he meant to those early teams. Boss Schmidt might not be the first name you think of when someone says Detroit Tigers history, but he's part of the foundation. A catcher's legacy isn't always in the box score. It's in the pitching staff he steadied, the games he guided, and the toughness he brought to the field every single night. If you enjoyed this deep dive Tigers throwback story, drop a like, subscribe, and comment.